Hello, Daniel. So lovely to see you.
Lovely to see you too.
Oh, thanks for joining today.
Of course, thank you for having me.
Before I introduce us both, I would just like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which both you and I meet, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, and pay my respects to the elders past, present, and emerging. So to introduce myself, my name is Alex Souvlis, and as the casting director of Sydney Theatre Company, I have been lucky enough to work with the beautifully talented Daniel Monks. Welcome, Daniel, and congratulations on your nomination for the CGA Rising Star of 2020.
Yay. Very, very happy.
How wonderful. How do you feel?
Amazing. It's really, really just wonderful. Feel very, very honoured and grateful.
Very deserved. So
thank you.
Very excited.
Thank you.
Well, let's get straight into it because I know everyone wants to hear about you. So why acting? Why? How did all this happen? Give us a quick rundown.
Okay, the quick rundown is my mother, Annie Merton Monks, is actually a CGA member. She is a casting director. She was the winner of Best TV Drama CGA Award last year. Go, Mum. Yeah. For The Heights. But before that, she was an actress and she trained at NIDA. And when she was pregnant with me, she did a one-woman show about pregnancy called From Here to Maternity. And so I was in her, and that was when she was 7 months pregnant. So I was in her belly while she was performing each night. And basically, ever since I was born, for as long as I can remember, all I want to do is perform. And it's just what I love more than anything. And as a kid, it was very much, I don't know why, I was just really drawn to it. But then I became disabled at age 11 and gave it up for like 11 years because I didn't think it was feasible for me to be a disabled actor. And then coming back to it in my 20s and really refocusing on it, it's so much more meaningful for me now because it's not only the fun of play and pretend, but it's also, I really believe and have been affected personally by the power of storytelling and the power of this art form. So so that's why acting in my succinctest way possible.
Oh, she must be very proud.
She is.
Caught it. She must.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, all that applause, adrenaline rushing into the womb, hooked me for life.
Very addictive.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I guess coming back to it in your 20s, that does bring me to my next question, which was your movie Pulse.
Yes.
Was an extraordinary story. I absolutely loved it.
Oh, thank you.
And for many reasons, I think a lot of people can relate to that on many different levels. I mean, it was your story, but I think people could have seen themselves in many different ways.
Totally.
Can you talk a little bit about how that story was born and how the hell you made it at such a young age?
Yes. I mean, to the latter part of the question, I do not know. It was like adrenaline. Well, I mean, I think the biggest thing was the people we made it with, so my film partner and the director, Stevie Chris Martin, she's just extraordinary and such a powerhouse. And we just had a really beautiful family of people who were making this thing just on the passion of it with no money. And, it was true independent micro budget in the truest sense of the word. But it came about because when I gave up acting at 11, I decided to pursue filmmaking and I studied AFTRS, which I loved. And I made a short film with AFTRS, which explored this concept of body swap, but not in like a comic sense, but more exploring it as a more real dramatic sense, I guess. And from that, I decided to develop into this feature film. And it was through the writing of it that I decided, you know what, if I'm ever going to act, at least I had this one opportunity where I can act. The character's based on me. There's no one who's more right for the role than me. So I'll just do this one film and then, that will be it. And so I did the film, and then my favorite part of the 8 years from the start to finish of making that film was the acting of it. So I decided after that, you know what, I really want to pursue acting, and there's nothing, even the challenges of acting I still love, and there's nothing that I want to do more. And even though I know, and it has been much harder for me as a disabled actor, it feels important to me as a disabled person and for my community to be part of, telling our stories and be part of a more inclusive, hopefully progressive
Yeah.
way of storytelling as this industry progresses. So
yeah, well, that was one of the things that absolutely struck me about that movie was although it was that it was totally relatable
totally,
for living with a disability, without a disability,
totally,
insecurity without insecurity.
totally.
It was amazing. So
No, thank you.
So going from making things on a shoestring,
Yes,
to then your UK career, which
yeah.
is quite astonishing. How did that start in the UK? And then I guess one of the big questions is, what are the differences between UK theatre and theatre in Australia?
Well, so the UK came about because of Pulse, actually. I mean, a lot of my career I can trace back to Pulse. It got into BFI London LGBT Film Festival, and they flew me over for it. And while there, I'd previously done a self-tape for this casting director, Daniel Edwards, who's now a dear friend. And I said, I have an Irish passport. And so I was like, maybe I'll try to get UK rep with not really considering that I ever moved there. And I was there, and he organized 14 meetings in 4 days. And like, I met all these people, and I signed with my amazing agents, Sam Turnbull and Sophie Holden and Curtis Brown in the UK. And halfway through the week, I kind of decided, oh, wow, I think I'm going to move to London. And I moved there. And it also really helped that the industry there was really realizing how important it is to have not only disabled actors play disabled roles, but also have disabled actors in all projects. For all roles, exactly. And so, but because, drum schools hadn't been accessible, because there hadn't been the opportunities, that there wasn't a large pool of actors, and I was fortunately coming off the back of the AACTA nom for Pulse and with the film, and then also I fortunately received a Helpman nom and a Green Room nom for the Real Imagined History of the Elephant Man at Malthouse Theatre. And so that kind of all really helped me kind of break into the industry there, which is not always an easy industry to break into. And the biggest difference between UK and Australia, they feel quite similar and quite, I would say, I guess because I've mainly worked on West End, and it's just like the scale of it and the money behind it. Like, it feels much more of a business in a good and a bad way. But as opposed to like just for artistic or cultural purposes. But I also think as well, not only theatre, but just UK in general, what I found really heartening and kind of what really brought me there was it feels the most progressive when it comes to disability. And like a lot of the disability rights we have now in Australia was born out of the disability rights movement in the UK in the 80s. And so like it's really, they've kind of been leading the way. And Australia is amazingly, and I've seen in the past 5 years how much Australia has progressed, and it's definitely moving in the right direction. But it definitely feels like UK is just a little step in the future. So it feels like there's more opportunities for me there as well.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So you think we have a long way to go, or?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like everywhere does, but I feel like we're absolutely heading in the right direction and moving, especially in Australian theatre. Like, I feel like working with the directors and artistic directors I work with here, like there's a real hunger and a desire to move us forward and be more progressive and inclusive. So yeah.
Well, here's that. Thanks. So you were cast as Constantine.
Yes.
On the West End, and COVID hit.
Oh yeah.
What was that like to be in London, COVID, about to do the show? And
well, it was really wild because we were on our 5th preview when we got shut down. So we were 3 nights from opening night. And we got literally shut down because I remember it was a Monday night. We were meant to be going ahead, and we got Boris Johnson did a nationwide announcement half an hour before I had to be on stage. So audience was already out in the foyer, and this is for every West End show. So every West End show, half an hour, like I had to get out of the building and take all our stuff because we didn't know when we'd get back. None of us have been back since. Like it was hectic.
So you're basically in dress, ready to go, made up. Wow.
Well, like it was after our group warm up that it was like Boris Johnson just made an announcement. West End needs to shut down tonight. So it was wild. The hardest thing as well, like it was a dream opportunity, and working with like Emilia Clarke and Indira Varma and like these incredible actors, and also working with Jamie Lloyd, who's just the most extraordinary director. So it was like an incredible opportunity in terms of that. But also I think that the hardest thing was for all of us, it was just, we so loved the thing we were making. And like in the previews, it was just responding really well. And it was really gutting to stop that kind of exploration. And the only positive I can see come out of it is it's definitely going to come back. And Emilia and Jamie are very committed to that. And we have monthly Zooms with all the cast and crew to kind of touch in, but it can't really happen until social distancing isn't required. So once vaccine or whatever type of thing. But the only positive is like, I get 5 more weeks in a rehearsal room with these people, as opposed to, because we were so close to opening night, it was about to start the run. So, but yeah, it was definitely challenging. COVID's been a nightmare for all involved.
Unbelievable.
Yes.
So it is coming back.
Yes.
Next year.
No idea. Who knows? This is the thing I'm really learning with COVID, especially over in the UK, because it's obviously impacted them much more than in Australia, is like, you can make all the plans you want, but they can change literally overnight, and
I hear you.
Yeah, yes, exactly. And it's really just about like letting yourself be excited, but also just like no attachment to anything. Like you'd be like so zen about it. Like it's really, yeah.
No, I think everyone's learned a lot about that over the last
Yes. Yes. We have no control.
So on that, what do you think, that helps us a lot, but what role do you think taught you the most about acting and about the industry so far? There's a lot more to come.
No. But there's 2 that come to mind. Is when I did the Real and Imagined History of the Elephant Man at Malthouse Theatre, directed by Matt Lunn, written by Tom Wright, which was my main stage debut. And it was just such an amazing experience. And it was a steep learning curve. Like I'd never done a main stage show, and now I was going to be leading a main stage show with like extraordinary, incredible veteran actors surrounding me. And so it was a really steep learning curve, but Matt was so supportive, and I felt like I learned so much in that show. Like I felt like, and even like after opening night during the run of that show, I just felt like I grew as an actor. And then the second one would be working with Jamie Lloyd on The Seagull. Like he's just really such a brilliant director who, it was just a really exciting, collaborative, experimental experience. And so I'm excited to get 5 more weeks in a rehearsal room with him. So yeah.
Wonderful experience. Amazing.
Yeah.
And so what's something not a lot of people know about you, but you can talk to?
It's a really good question, because I'm probably too much of an oversharer publicly. If you watch Pulse, like I'm basically peeing myself, vomiting, having terrible sex. Like I'm pretty out there. I don't know if I have a good answer.
But
I'm so sorry.
Be prepared for anything.
Yeah, be prepared. And yes, be prepared. And I guess I guess something that people should know about me is I'm too much of an oversharer. And so I should, have a bit more, restraint.
Love it. Makes you feel very comfortable.
Yes, exactly. No shame.
Love it. So what do you think? So do you think your biggest break so far was Pulse? Was that really your...
It's so hard to tell, because my biggest break in UK theatre was doing Teenage Dick at the Donmar Warehouse. That was what got me Seagull and what has kind of established me in the West End. But my biggest break in Australian theatre would have been Elephant Man. My biggest break on screen would have been Pulse. It just, the different, I think because like with all actors, I have the joy of working across mediums. So it's kind of like different breaks for different things. But definitely I know I wouldn't have got Elephant Man if not for Pulse. I wouldn't be able to go to London if not for Pulse. There's so many things that Pulse really opened doors for. And especially when I decided I want to pursue a career as acting, there weren't opportunities for openly disabled actors in this industry. And so it really was there was no door for me. So Pulse was kind of the door I made for myself to enter in and stuff like that, which...
More of a sort of garage opening more than a little open door.
But I mean, like, that's always my, I mean, it was hard, but always like my advice for like other actors who are trying to break in is just like, the only way I broke in was making my own work, you know? And yeah.
Well done.
Yeah.
So what's next, Daniel Munns?
Yes. I'm doing an amazing wild horror comedy called Sissy that is written and directed by Hannah Barlow and Kane Scenes, who are wonderful and dear friends of mine. And it's produced by Lisa Shaughnessy of AACTA. And also it's cast by Marianne Jade at Morafay. And so I'm going to be shooting that in a couple of weeks, or maybe when this comes out, I'll be shooting this. And then I'll be going back to London to COVID Central to do The Normal Heart at the National Theatre in a socially distant production in the Olivier. So they've converted the Olivier Theatre into a round. So it'll be in the round. So it'll be all socially distanced, and I'll be doing that directed by Dominic Cook. And I'm very excited about that as well, because it's a, The Normal Heart was a play written by an AIDS activist at the height of the AIDS crisis and performed at the height of the AIDS crisis in '85 in New York. And very much about the experience of an epidemic and a health crisis, and how the government's like a terrible response to that. And in the UK, it's been atrocious. So to tell that story while it's all happening feels quite meaningful, and also kind of like what theatre is, and, you know, to really tell the story for now to the people here in this room. And I know as well, like, how so many of my friends, it's so hard right now in London, and how much they're craving being in a room and experiencing theatre again. So I'm really excited to be a part of that.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah. Gosh, so it's so overdue. We so need it.
Yes. I miss it. I miss it so much.
Everyone, I know.
Yeah.
Well, I guess my next question was going to be, what role would you love to be cast in? And who cast alongside you? But it sounds like you're pretty much doing it.
Yes.
But what is in your head about that?
I mean, my favorite play of all time is Angels in America, and my dream role is like Prior Walter. Well, my dream role before this was Richard III and Joseph Merrick the Elephant Man and Constantine the Seagull. But I'm done all those, so it's like I'm just ticking off dreams, which is really nice. Yeah. But I would love to, and even like one of my favorite living actors, who I think is so underrated, is Catherine Hahn, especially for her dramatic work. And so I think she would make an amazing Hannah Pitt. So Angels in America with Hannah Pitt with Catherine Hahn would be a dream.
I'll just jot that down.
Yeah, please do. Please. That'd be such a dream.
Well, by your trajectory, I reckon we'll see that in the next couple of years.
Oh, that's very nice. That's very nice.
Okay, now a question for me, Daniel.
Yes.
What is some advice you can pass to casting directors about casting and working with Daniel Monks?
That is such a good question. So what I would say is, for myself, in order to say what actors I would advice I'd give to casting directors is to really challenge and try to expand your minds of what roles you think we could be cast as. But what I would say to that as well is, like, my mum's a casting director. I grew up in a casting office. Like, I remember at age 8, stapling photos to manila folders for actors' files. And, and I had witnessed firsthand, like, the creativity, the hard work, and the advocacy that casting directors do. And, like, I think a thing that a lot of actors don't realize, and I definitely know firsthand, is, like, our greatest champions are the casting directors, which is literally, like, the fact that you guys at your award ceremony, to celebrate your casting work, you're also celebrating actors, just kind of further proves that point. And it's often the casting directors who are championing the most progressive, inclusive, interesting casting choices anyway. And and so my advice is, please keep fighting for us. And my advice to the powers that be and the producers and the directors is to listen to the casting directors' advice, because they've been doing this for a long time. And yeah, so I'm a massive fan of casting directors. And I think as well, like, I think it's such a unappreciated art form. And I know and love a casting director very much, my mum, and I know how much skill and creativity and endless long nights goes into it, and that it should be more appreciated. So I'm very happy that you guys have this Casting Guild Awards.
Thank you.
No, of course. No, of course.
Oh, thank you so much for joining us on Zoom
No,
today.
thank you so much for having me.
And I am wishing you the very best. And for these awards.
Thank you.
Good luck and have a beautiful afternoon.
I will do. Thank you so much. Bye.